Hello and welcome to another episode of Word Up. We have my favourite friend, DDJ, aka David Doherty-Jebb, on this week for a yarn because I absolutely love him and so do you guys. How are you, David?
Well, thanks for having me. I had a really good crack last time.
So did
it was
I.
really good. This is my, I think I said it the last time, this is my jam.
Yeah.
This is my words.
Yeah.
Talking about words.
You're very knowledgeable on the old, and you have your own wee wordarium.
I
don't
have on my phone what I call a wordarium.
Yeah.
And so if I get like a random word, maybe if we have time, I'll give you my favourite one later on, but we'll see,
Yes,
we'll see how it goes.
Better yet, I do set that up because I actually, is it the one with the frog?
Yes.
What is it? Tell me.
So the word is, it's spanghew.
Spanghew.
Spanghew spelled S-P-A-N-G-H-E-W. I'm like, you know, like play school. D-D-D-D-D-D.
Yeah.
Spanghew, over like spanghew. And so it means to like flick a frog with a stick against a wall. But it's
fantastic.
It's so niche. It's so like, at what point in history did you need a word? Because people were going fucking spanghew and all like fucking random.
Can I
do you know what I mean?
actually say that you right? David told me this whenever we were at a gig before, and I was talking about setting this podcast up, and I was fascinated by this word, and an opportunity came for me to use
the word
spanghew, but because obviously normally I would have a mind to remember stuff like this, but because I was about to go on stage whenever you were telling me about it, I must have replaced it with whatever set I was doing next. And it was, we were in Lady Dixon Park or something, and we were looking for tadpoles and wee frogs and stuff, and my wee lad went, "Ugh, whatever crawls on you, you'll just fling it." And I was like, "Yeah, you would." Spang you the life clean out of that.
Spang you that fucker clean against the wall.
But you wouldn't even need to say spang you the frog because it means...
That'll be redundancy, so you don't need to say anymore.
I love it because I actually think I'm going to start saying that to people. Get away before I spang you.
Do you mind, could we, like, do you know language changes over years? So could we just introduce it into the English language to mean people?
Yeah.
So you could, like, spang you.
Spang you.
Spang you that cunt over there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
spang you the fucking life clean.
Not that night, lads. See if you keep getting on like us here, you'll get fucking spang you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I love it. Like, this is way to hear what happened to me last night. So I was doing this gig last night in the Accidental Theatre for BBC, and I was supposed to do it last month, but I didn't get sent the email to say what date I was supposed to do it, so I wasn't there. And he asked me if I could come down to last night's recording, and I said no bother. But I was really grateful that I didn't go to last month's one because I was just going to pick up stuff and do a set that I would normally do.
Aye.
And Sarah Jade had let me know, no, you can't swear. It has to be clean, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I was really grateful. I was like, oh, thank fuck.
Gives you time to sort of like...
Right? Yeah.
Check out the bits.
So last night, I was like, right, I'm busy with the kids all day. I've been trying to sort out wee bits of material that I could do, you know, that was funny, but also I didn't swear in. I'm not saying that I can't do sets without swearing, but being who I am, it kind of can be a bit disingenuous for me to not swear, you know, or else sometimes whenever some of my wee bits incorporate swear words, do you know what I mean?
Or you see, I feel like sometimes, like, yes, it's grand, I can do this, but it feels like a wee bit like my hand's behind, I've got one hand tied behind my back.
Yeah, so I was like, right, then I went, no bother, I have stuff, I'll do wee bits
I can do clean.
I'll wing it. I can do clean.
I can do clean.
I wing my eyeliner every day, I can wing this, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. And as it was going down, I messaged the guy who booked me, Mark, and said, just to be clear, this is clean, isn't it? Clean material, because I've only got it from a second-hand source that it's to be, you know, legit. And he wrote back, no, Bronagh, just be yourself. And I went...
I'm a fucking
I actually wrote...
out for a month.
I wrote back on my phone, thank fuck. Right? Can I fucking swear? Fucking right? No, because it's being recorded. And he went... Swear like fuck, Bronagh. Enjoy yourself. And I went, phew, right? So I was driving into the town going, fuck that shit. I'm just going to have a laugh down here and just be myself.
Chill that out.
And I walked in to the Accidental Theatre, and as I was walking in, I saw Johnny Bow. And I went, Johnny, I nearly fucking shit my pants there. I thought this was to be clean. And he went, yeah, it is. And I went, no, it's not, because I messaged Mark, the guy that's booked us, and he said, work away, do your thing. And Johnny went, are you sure? Because I was sent, basically somebody sent him the riot act, which I'm familiar with. The BBC do that. They're like, don't say fuck, don't say bollocks, don't say this.
Yeah.
You know, you believe it or not, motherfucker, you cannot say motherfucker, but cunt is only second on the list. Right?
Oh, I would have thought
Interesting. I'd have thought cunt would have been number one. Mickey Bartlett was saying to me last night, no, cunt's their number 2. Motherfucker is number 1, right? Which is random.
Maybe it's just it makes Stephen Nolan feel like, I don't know, like uncomfortable saying motherfucker.
Yeah, maybe it's because he fucks his mother. I'm only joking. I'm not saying it does.
Disclaimer. Allegedly,
it
no.
was a joke. Yo, Stephen.
That's my opinion.
It's my opinion, and I'm entitled.
I'm entitled.
I'm entitled.
You can't tell me what to think.
So what do you hear? So I said to Johnny, I was like, right, Johnny.
Johnny.
Johnny. And he was like, no, I'm pretty sure you're really not allowed to swear. And I went, I think you're wrong, because I was messaging the guy who booked this. Look at my messages. And he was like, right. And I looked and I went, I have a couple of numbers in my phone here that aren't saved. Like, no. Turns out I was messaging Sean McAlevey, who's booking Maddens.
Yes.
And he's recording that too. So
yes.
There was I was messaging Sean going, see whenever this is, see, because this is being recorded. Is it clean? No, swear like, can you imagine? I'd have walked on stage. I had this whole wee bit in my head prepared about here. I thought this had to be clean, and they told me it wasn't, so thank fuck. Right? I nearly died off.
BBC producers are choking on his tongue.
Absolutely choking.
Because it has to be sort of like PG. I remember doing like a thing for the BBC in the Sunflower years ago, and it had to be like the way he says, no swearing, keep it clean. So in my head, I was thinking, right, sort of like PG-13 in my head. And it was like, I was stressing the whole way through, going like, did I just say? So I went over to him and I said, listen, did I? And he said to me, do you know, David, that was like the cleanest set I've ever had to edit, because there was no swearing in it.
Oh, really?
And I just was like,
well,
there was that wee bit of David in the back of my head.
Do you know something though? The audience was absolutely brilliant. They were amazing last night. They were lovely. And I was doing a bit, so I ended up talking about, it was only supposed to be 7 minutes, and Mickey was like, you can go over a bit because they're going to cut it all down. But I went on and I was talking about how Westies, we can make any word sound like an insult or a swear word. Do you know what I mean? Like, look at you standing over there, you bin bag. Do you know what I mean?
Your balloon.
Or onion. Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's because I was just saying to you there before, I was in Glasgow last weekend, and I know, do you know, in Scotland, and what I love is like they can insult you but without swear words. So we're like, you're a muppet.
You're a muppet.
You're a muppet. You're a balloon. You're a spoon. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
that just sounds like Belfast.
Do you know what I mean?
Westies.
You know what I mean? And that's what I got there. Like, and it's the way you have to put a wee.
Yeah.
What we would call like spades or schmicks in Northern Ireland. In Scotland, they would say nades.
Neds, do they?
He's a nade. He's a pure nade.
He's a pure nade.
Or a jakey.
A jakey?
He's a pure jakey. Shop your jakey.
I love a wee bit of Scottish, like. Well, I
do.
actually have Scottish family. Brothers and sisters. Met my wee sister.
Whereabouts, do you know?
In just outside Edinburgh.
Is it like Edinburgh?
Edinburgh. A wee place called
I always think
Dunbar.
Edinburgh sounds like that. The other one that talk is like up and down, and then Glasgow's more like that.
Yeah,
you know,
Glasgow's more like us.
Meals pure twangy.
Yeah. Do you ever go to Ballycastle and people sound like they're Scottish? But then it's only across the water.
If you think about it,
You can see Scotland from Ballycastle on a clear day.
It's very sort of like. So my husband Alan is from Newton Ards, and I find like on the Ards Peninsula, because like sometimes that's like the closest bit.
Yeah.
Can be like, as it's like from like Ards over, is it Port Glasgow you call on the other side?
Is it?
And some of the things they would say, like, they don't say a boat, they say a boat.
Boat.
A boat.
Boat.
I'll go get my coat.
Coat.
Wains, they say wains.
I like Derry people.
Say wains.
Wains. I took the Wains to Skull in a car. By the time I get home, it was 21.
I think I read, because it would say East Coasty Scotland would be more sort of like Wains.
Yeah.
And then if you go more on the other side, East Coast would be more Bairns.
Bairns.
Bairn. And then again, West Coast Scotland would be more Wains.
The Wains.
9 o'clock and not a Wain washed.
Yeah. Do you know, I always thought that phrase was, whenever, in case anybody's watching it that hasn't heard it, normally like over here, whenever somebody says, what time is it? And they'll go, Jesus, it's 12:10 and there's not a child in the house, it's washed, right? But I always thought, because my stepdad would say, 12 and there's not a hair in the house is washed. Do you know what I mean?
That was the saying.
I thought that was the saying. And I remember
saying.
working in this office before, and I was like, she went, and there's not a child in the house washed. And I went, child? It's very PG. And she was like, why, what way do you say it? And I was like, it's her. And she went, no, it's not.
She's grabbing her wee free Presbyterian sort of like prayer book that she keeps right under her. Like,
Yeah.
No, it is not indeed, Bronagh.
No, it's definitely not.
It's not. That word that you just said there now. It's definitely child.
That word. I just find that, like, with words, this is what I was talking about last night, and that's it. You can turn any word. If we start saying that certain words are taboo, you could make the word onion.
You could
be something that's not allowed to be said on TV.
Yeah.
They only have the power that we give them.
Bernard.
It's quite...
Bernard.
I love Bernard.
Shut up, you Bernard.
Yeah, Bernard.
Why do you say that? I love that.
I love Bernard.
I thought my friend was once going out with a fella called Bernard. And I just thought this was...
What age was he?
Exactly. He was
Imagine a wee 5-year-old Bernard going about P1, getting the life ripped out of him.
A dog.
Wee Bernard. Bernard, wee dog, wee Bernard. Like, who looks at their... That's like with Barry, though. I have a Barry, and somebody said that to me, like, who calls their child Barry? And I was like, well, I do. But Barry's kind of cute. I like Barry. But Bernard, she was like, I'm going out with Bernard tonight. And I was like... Every time she said it, I was like, I'm sorry, you've either got to change that name or get a new boyfriend, because this is not flying.
We had, it was a young fella was sort of like cleaning in our cafe. He actually worked for the hostel next door to our cafe, and he was cleaning in the cafe. So
he wasn't even getting paid. He just came in there with his wee
rag.
He
just came in and he was like, "That's his class." So he was from Spain, but we knew. So he's a trans lad, and we knew him before he started transitioning. So whenever then he was then, which I always think is like quite a cool thing for trans people to be able to do. I think that's a kind of a cool, it's cool that trans people get to be able to go, do you know what? This is a name that sort of like I feel is better for me. Do you know what I mean?
You get to pick your name.
To get to pick their name. So he was going and he was saying, you know, like, right, there's names. So he was talking to my husband and he was chatting about names that he was going to pick. And the name that he was going to go was like, I really like the name Humphrey. And my husband was like, oh, just like, do you know, like trying not to like, to quash down his like, enthusiasm. And I was like, do you know, that is cool that you're thinking of new names. We'll maybe put a pin in Humphrey.
Said nobody ever.
Let's put a pin in Humphrey. It's like Humphrey's, but I almost said like Humphrey's like a really, like, sounds like a really, like an old, like Humphrey Bogart.
That's exactly what I thought.
Who other any Humphreys that you know? Do you know what I mean?
Humphrey Dumphrey.
Sat on the Wolfrey.
Humpty Dumpty was actually a gun. Have I said this before?
So he wasn't an egg?
Wasn't an egg. Humpty Dumpty was a massive gun that was like built hundreds of years ago in the beginning of guns. Curtis is going to be listening to this right now going,
that's not the story.
That's not the story. But Humphrey
both doing Curtis impression.
Humphrey Dumphrey. Yeah, it was a gun that got broken apart and couldn't get back together again.
An egg.
But tell me about Humphrey, aka.
So Humphrey then, yes, so that was Humphrey. It was Alan was like, no, maybe not Humphrey. And I'm not going to say the name that he did.
If you ever want to be Humphrey, don't call yourself Humphrey.
Don't want to say in case people do know who he is, and I don't want them to think like people go, oh, you're going to call yourself Humphrey. Like,
I know why do we do that with trans people? It's not like you go to your ma, Jay, you were going to call me Eve.
I guess it was good, especially now in this sort of time where I think trans people are having a bit of a lot of a shit time. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's to celebrate like cool things about trans folk, and I just think that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
Do you know that they get to like say? Do you know they get to go? Do you know what? Because like we get like stuck with names. Like,
I know, but you know what? Why don't we? We should take a leaf out of their book and go. You know what? I don't fancy Bronagh. I fancy being a bit of a.
But would you, if you were to have another name? See, I don't think. I feel like David. Not Dave, not Davey.
You're David.
David.
Right enough, you're probably the only David that I know that has never had an abbreviation or like a nickname.
I've got like really good friends who will call me Dave, but they've met me under certain circumstances, and it's been so long now. The window is closed.
Yeah. They met you during your Dave the Rave stage, you know. Whenever he was we whistle in his mouth and glow sticks.
Louvres. Do you mean? Like, can you imagine? I never had Louvres.
My mate David has always been D.
Right.
But see, when he meets new people, he introduces himself as David.
The Reformation of David.
And I always go like, no, don't listen to him. He's called D.
Don't listen to him telling you his birth name.
Whenever my mum is angry at me, like whenever I was away, she would, the D at the end turned into a T. So it would be like, David! Like I said, like real, like, David, but like David. Whereas, it does,
Spite. But were you just like, who are you?
Yeah, who's David?
I'm like, no, you're not David, you're D. Like, just
stop it. That's not how we perceive
There was
you.
a guy.
Yeah, they're trying to like come away from that.
There was a guy at uni that we knew. So Adam, we knew him as Adam, and then all his mates from school came to visit, and they were like, what was his real name? What was his first name? It was Lindsay. It was Lindsay. So he was like, so they came a thing and it was like, oh, is Lindsay here yet? And we're like, oh, well, it was another flat and they were all like, oh no, there's no Lindsay lives here. Yeah. No, there's no girl. And they were like, no, like Lindsay. And like, so Adam, I think again, he was trying to get away from the whole.
That freaks me out though. Whenever, like this happened in school as well, where there was a girl and her name, we all knew her as like Lisa, right? And whenever we went into like a new form class before, they must have had the original version of the register. So they went, Francis. And I just went,
ain't no Francis here.
Her name's Lisa. And they were like, oh, it says Francis here. And she was like, that's my name, my first name, but I go by my middle name. And I was like, looking at her all different, going, you're a Francis?
Yeah. Well,
you're not who I thought you were.
As well.
My husband's Martin. He's not Alan, he's Martin.
What?
Alan. Mm-hmm.
This is living among us as well.
So my mum's the same. My mum goes by her middle name.
Get away.
I know there's like a whole generation of like a lot of her cousins are the same.
Yeah.
I have an auntie who's the same. There's like a generation of people who go by their
they all
middle
have.
name.
Well, can I tell you something actually that's to elaborate on? I know that Paddy has told the story about the woman that had the kids with all the same names. But you know that I was in the hospital like with an ectopic pregnancy and they were coming to take my blood and they were like, oh yeah, you're a comedian, aren't you? Blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to find out what was going on with me and my body. And she was like, so tell me this. See that story that Paddy McDonald tells about? Is that true? And I was like, will you just fucking tell me if I'm going to die? Right? I ended up
there's something else going on.
But can I tell you something to elaborate for anybody that ever asked me that again? I will tell you. I know a family and there are like 4 boys in the family and they're all called Frank. Right, their first name is all the same, and it's a family name, but they all go by their middle names. But see, if you're looking at them on paper, they're all Frank.
That was quite. If you go like that was quite like if you like a lot of names in Spain, like say for example,
fall mainly on the Danes.
Not the Danes, but mainly on. But if you have a name like Pilar, for example, your name's probably not Pilar, it's probably Maria del Pilar. If your name's Nieves, which means snows, your name's probably Maria de las Nieves. So lots and lots of people in Spain are called Maria, but it's like. It's the next bit.
Italy has that too, and then like Brazil as well, where they'll have like 8 names, and it's like they're named after an uncle or a granda or whatever, but like it's just part of their name.
It used to be. There's actually a structure to it for over here. I once read this thing about how Irish families are named, and it's supposed to be that obviously whenever there would be more than one child normally, I mean, come on, my granny had
look where we are in the world.
Yeah, 9 kids my granny had, but 8 surviving children. And used to be the first child was named, if it was a girl, it was named after the husband's mother.
Right.
If it was a boy, it was named after, obviously, the husband, and he would have been named after his father.
Daddy, aye.
The second, but it was more interesting whenever it got to like, so the second girl would have been named after the mother's mother. And then it was like the mother's first sister. And that's why whenever you look, everybody either has an Uncle John or an Auntie Mary.
They do.
I have both.
Auntie John, hi. Uncle John,
Auntie John, you have an old Auntie John?
Auntie John. Auntie John.
Auntie John and Uncle Mary, trans.
Mary. They decided to keep their names.
Yeah.
But I didn't realise that's like weird conventions.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it?
Then the more kids you have, you start calling them after the postman or the...
Aye, the coal man who left your house with one clean finger every week. That's
because he was on... That's because he was helping unblock the sinkhole.
I did
fucking sinkhole.
Why are we still getting cold? We've had gas for fucking years.
Big pile of coal out in the backyard.
Just sitting there going, it's in case the Armageddon.
Alfred Phoenix is out the order.
He's always gassing on about something.
But that is, could you we talk about the milkman's son in Spain? It's the gas man's son, because it's sort of like who would be a man who would be able to get to the house while the husband's gone with a legitimate excuse. So the milkman would be us. Man? So the gas man goes up into
Spanish people not drink la leche.
La leche, but they don't take it from the because
you can't leave it sitting outside.
No, because it goes rotten.
My ma sacked our milkman because he never closed the gate.
Just right. Just right.
She just, that's it.
The crows ever get the
what I call
the crows? I pack in the top. And people used to have those wee things that they sat on top of their milk bottles.
But you remember you used to, I don't know, you are too young, but you don't remember you would put the milk and then you put a wee letter out going like, I'm going to be away for 2 weeks, or you put the money in the milk bottle.
I still get the main man coming out.
I love the main man.
The mineral man.
The main man, the mineral.
And I leave him the wee bottles, and then I
What's your?
Is he a wee culture? He's the one that comes down my way. He's lovely.
It's probably awful.
It's probably true.
What would be your? Should men be looking for anybody to want to sponsor? This would be a good, what's your main poison of choice?
It's teams.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
Attaboy. Sarsaparilla. Pineapple. Wee bit of American cream soda. You can't beat it.
You think it's got to be lemonade and it's not.
In the last couple of years, I've had to change. I'm trying to, not have as much sugary stuff. So
do you go for the sugar-free one?
The sugar-free raspberry.
We're coming into the future, aren't we?
Sugar-free pineapple. It's great.
Sugar-free me, and that sounds just.
I get the sugar-free pineapple.
It sounds sacrilegious.
I know.
Do you know what?
It's actually just as nice.
It's brilliant.
That's what somebody says. You has to have it.
I need to get the main man round again though, because what happened was, I am a sucker for a wee old man. Not literally. I love wee old men. Like, I don't know, I have a granda complex because I was really close with my granda.
Yeah.
So, like, Curtis will say to me, I could be driving down the road and millions of traffic behind me and in front of me, but see if I see a wee granda trying to get out of a side street.
Oh, no.
Let it be known, he's getting out, right? I'll even get out in direct traffic for him, right? I just
Brother just let this wee man out and they just sit and watching friggin' Nazi hunters. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's that wee fucking man!
That wee bastard!
Hey, let him out! He's a fucking Nazi! He ran a horrible concentration camp somewhere up in the north of Poland. Like, that fucking bastard lives in West Belfast! I should have ran on him.
I know, terrible Muriel, but he was adorable, and he came around the door one day. Adorable. And I was like, give me all your lemonade, totally. You are fucking so cute. Like, yes, much as it a $5, there's a $10. Don't worry about it.
He went home, like I say, with an empty fucking truck. Like
he was loving it.
Coming round to her house again, fucking soft touch.
It was brilliant. He was coming around and he was giving and then the coronavirus came in and he was going, there's a load of people to let me go. They're saying they're afraid of that coronavirus.
He's using that culture accent to best effect there, isn't he?
They're
pulling the heartstrings.
I'm so sorry about that. Give me all their lemonade. You know what I mean?
I don't know how I'll be feeding the missus this week, but that's not your issue now. That's not you taking that on yourself.
Maybe I'm just not with the time.
See,
they're all wanting a Coca-Cola and a Pepsi.
It's a terrible state of affairs. And the kids need new shoes.
They're all drinking Fanta now. There's no time for pineapple aid.
Stop it, you're going to make me cry. So I was just...
a big monster.
Jumps out of his thing on his Lamborghini up the fucking...
I know, bottles clinking in
the boot. He's took all the back seats out so he can stick all the main bottles on it.
Yeah.
He's like that there.
Stop it, his wee Lamborghini just runs on
sarsaparilla. Clearly lame.
But anyway, so I said, clearly lame. I said to him, don't worry, I'll not let you go and all the rest of it. And I closed the door and Curtis was like, we need to let him go. And I was like, I can't let him go. And he went, Bronagh, you're the only one that drinks lemonade in the house. The kids aren't allowed it. There's millions of bottles out there.
I'm from London. I'd never heard of it before I got this place.
He was like, you have a fucking lemonade, man. What the fuck?
Don't have milk or greengrocers come to the house, but there's a man brings lemonade. What sort of fucked up diabetic shit is that?
That is exactly what he said and how he said it, right?
I was
like, yeah, I'm too sweet. But he was... So he said to me...
Sorry, Curtis, if you're watching this, but you probably will because we're going to make you watch it.
He does, he listens to it, so he does as he's doing his thing during the day. And I was So I said to him, no, don't you dare. Don't you dare. And he went, Bronagh, do you even drink the lemonade anymore? I was like, no, but I can't let him go. So what happened was...
put like a bit of diluting juice in it, and like the fizzy ones, and then you can...
I was upstairs with COVID, right? And I heard him at the door, and he was like, he told the man, he let him go, right? He said, look, because of the whole pandemic and all, and she's not well, we're going to let you go. It's for your own good, sort of thing.
He's like wringing his wee flat cap between his hands, like this. Going to understand, son, understand. It's hard times for everybody. It's hard times for everybody.
Don't!
And you're upstairs in your dressing gown, big white face with like snotters all of the window going to go out there while he's driving away.
That was...
And he puts his hand on his hand and he goes, now will you tell your woman that I hope she's doing all right.
Stop it!
I'll not hold it against you, understand?
Hope she gets better soon.
Hope she gets better soon, and a later we can. I'll say a wee prayer to make sure you're all on all them wee children.
I like the weekend for you. And
do you know what he did the next week?
Put your Wendy's in. Empty main bottles, fucky.
Yeah, hurry. You didn't even have the fucking COVID, you're just sick of the head.
You didn't have the fucking decency to come down and tell me to my face. You sent that fucking English fella to the door. You give him a fucking marching orders, you hear ye.
A Brit notice. I thought since the Good Friday Agreement was signed, but never would have let go by them. Well, anyway, he left lemonade the next week free of charge. Oh.
That's because he's dementia. He forgot that you'd let go of him the week before.
It's fucking probably true.
There's loads of people go up and down the thing going, I swear to God, I told him not to come back here, but I still keep getting fucking
He's that cute, he probably knows, like...
Sugar-free, raspberry.
Raspberry.
I was like a wee hook with a bit of fucking, like...
Well, so look what you're missing.
It's like, I'll say that there. And just to make you go, oh, fuck. You know what? We can spare £2 a week.
Yeah.
It's like, look, if you're
for £2 a week, you can sponsor a little culture.
At £2 a week, you can sponsor a girl in West Belfast who doesn't have any main lemonade. What's that there?
It's my vibrator in my bag.
That's a good one. That's a good one. You know,
do you know what it is? It's
give it a wash and give me a land. Give it a rub down and give me a land.
A rub down? Do you have to? You only do that once a year whenever you take them all out and steep them.
I'm just saying, do you know what I mean? If you're just in case. Just
alright.
So I can get my own smell on it.
I need to imprint on it.
Imprint upon it. Imprint.
Okay. What is it, Sean?
It says just throw it in the dishwasher.
Just throw it in the dishwasher. Not the battery operated ones, obviously. Just your...
Take batteries out. They're all waterproof anyway, all mine, so you can use them in the bath.
Oh,
yeah. You know, big ones that like have a pull cord on.
A pneumatic dildo.
Yeah. Do you know that there's a thing called a dildo? Do you know that? And it's like if you have one of those drills, you know, that does that. There's a dildo attachment they can go on to like the Black and Decker, DeWalt drill.
Imagine. No, but you need to be very careful.
But
you could get flap burn.
Flap burn? You fucking punch the cervix clean out here.
What happened there?
It would look like a kid's arms going down the free fall. Like
that wee thing that made the channel tunnels. Going up the side. Going up the thing. What happened?
Flaps are burned clean off.
She died. Just her dildo went away up and say, come out her
What
head.
a way to go. See if I had to go, like, I would like to go like that where everybody be sitting in my funeral going,
why is it not an open casket? I asked later on.
They couldn't get her mouth closed.
What I call the wee end of the dildos come out your eyeball like that there.
Yeah, it's still on. They couldn't turn it off. This is coughing vibrating.
Them batteries are quite good, aren't they? She's been dead 5 days now and they've still not stopped.
She's fucking delighted.
She's delighted with herself.
Absolutely buzzing. So
but saying words or triggering words.
DDJ, do you want to hear the word of the week?
Word of the week.
Right, the word of the week is...
Deblaterate.
Yes, deblaterate.
Deblaterate. No idea. I can't break it down.
Right. Think of blather.
Like talking? Mm-hmm. So, like, is that to shut somebody up?
No, it's like to talk and to gabble. To talk incessantly, you know. If you want, I'll get a wee bit more.
Can I get that word in context? You know, like in those really American spelling bees. Can I have it just in a sentence?
To deblaterate is to babble or to prattle unthinkingly, or to blurt something out. So,
see, blurt also means...
Bronagh was prone to deblaterate on stage. But I just thought, that's a fucking excellent word. Because you and I like to deblaterate.
We deblaterate of a times. That's a good deblaterate.
Deblaterate.
Like gabble.
Yeah, to gabble, to blather, to babble. It also can be used in terms of somebody who like rants.
Oh, so it'd be like a negative sort of thing. It's like the street, like the Pride street preacher of late.
Yeah.
Topical.
Yes, I love
the dude out the thing, and he was there. And
was he actually there at Pride?
Oh, there's always seasons at Pride. There's always like they never miss a Pride.
Maybe 2 or 3.
There's like that they never made. But then there's the.
And what do? Are they all like hellfire for gay
stop
people?
bumming. I don't know. Stop all the bumming and all
Stop pleasing each other and being happy.
Stop being lesbians now.
Do you think these people are just like, they have no sex life whatsoever? They're really, really depraved. And depraved, probably. Or
they're getting it in every orifice by all different types of people. And I generally find that the people who have the biggest problems with, like, gay people or trans people or non-binary people, they have that because they feel they're connected to it in some way, in which they either are, you know, they can't come out.
A part of themselves.
They can't deal with it,
so they can't do it.
Yeah, so they can't do. So they feel connected to it, but then I think it's like because it's a form of self-hatred.
Yeah,
and it's coming out onto other people.
And it's kind of like mixed with religious zealot.
In which you're like, I don't know about you, but I think in this part of the country, you know, like whenever you do RE, religious education in Northern Ireland is not religious education; it's Christian.
It's Christian
indoctrination.
Education. I never actually knew that there was another way. Well, this is going to... But obviously, speaking to Kurt, he's from London, and he knows people of many faiths.
Yes.
Many different, like even really strange
ones. And would he have been brought up in any particular
He's
sort of
not brought
religion?
up under any denomination. He doesn't believe in God. He doesn't, you know, he doesn't say that he doesn't believe in God. How did you feel
the first time that somebody said... I know, coming from this part of the world, the first time somebody said to me that they didn't believe in God, I was like, during it really... Because it's very, very much ingrained. And whether or not you're a church goer... Because I would say I would be... I don't go to church. I would say I'm only like culturally Protestant because that was my background.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas I'm not sort of going around feeling all... Do you know, I don't really feel any kind of ownership or any kind of connection with it.
Yeah, that sort of tribalism that comes along.
It doesn't really...
Yeah, I... See, the thing is, like Billy Connolly would say, whenever you do A-level religion, it's A-level in guilt, right? And
did you do RE?
I did RE.
Ooh.
And you know
for
something...
A-level?
No, not for A-level, for GCSE.
Oh, even then.
And I realised, actually, that somewhere along the line, I'm looking back on it now going, I could not have done that now. No one would I know. Like, they would have made us sit and write a letter trying to talk our friend out of an abortion.
You
know, it was like, your friend's going to have an abortion. Tell her why it's sinful and she shouldn't do it, and try and talk her out of it. I couldn't do that now.
By the time I was doing it, the way it was framed was... Okay, so there's a topic and it's either abortion or, you know, equal marriage, whatever. And it was like, give your points for and against and then your opinion at the end. But
your opinion at the end had to be...
Your opinion at the end didn't get the marks if it wasn't their opinion.
In conclusion,
do you know why I think that's why? I think in my religion GCSE, I think I got a B or a C or something. And I remember specifically one huge part of it was an essay. You had to write an essay talking about how, and by this stage, I used to think of them as those questionnaires. There was that many fucking questions in it. You know the way questionnaires are designed, they ask you so many questions that you get fed up lying and trying to pick the right thing that you just tell the truth. That's what the RE essay was like, because it was like you'd spent so much time talking all this bullshit, what's the Catholic doctrine on this and that and the other, and in the end it was explain how it is more beneficial for parents to be living together and married in order to raise a family. No joke, that was the essay I had to write. So I proceeded then to write an essay eloquently about how that's a load of bollocks.
That's balls.
Right? And I was just like, you know, in certain relationships there can be violence, this, that, and the other. And I put it really, academically, in my opinion. And I just think they must have looked at it and went,
sinner.
Yeah, it was just like, no. But they're saying that to children like myself who come from a family.
You got a big red cross.
Like I come from a broken home. Do you know what I mean? Well, wouldn't say it's a broken home.
Was your mum and daddy, like, what age were you when your mum and daddy?
My mum and daddy separated like just whenever I was wee.
So all right, so
and then divorced.
See, because I was 10, and so like I kind of like remember why it was a good idea for my mum and dad not to live together anymore.
I don't remember my mummy and daddy ever being together.
It was my youngest, but my middle brother might remember a wee bit. My youngest brother probably won't remember very much at all. Whereas I remember it all, and it's a bit. Whenever you get that thing, it's a bit like, so you would rather people who fucking hate each other sitting in the house, like just glaring at each other with a cup and coffee, going like I say, and then as soon as the children go out, batter the shit out of everyone and all. You know what I mean?
If you're lucky, they'll wait till the children go out before they do that. If you're lucky,
Hail Mary. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? That's class.
But you're like, but they're married, so it's good.
And it's so weird. You're like, if you want to get married again, within like even, if you want to get married again within the Catholic Church, you have to get your first marriage. You can't have a divorce. You have to get it annulled.
And it has to have a good reason to be annulled. It either has to have been that, do you know that you can get your marriage annulled if they cheat on you, either as an adulterer, but even then they'll make you go to like counselling to try and sort it out. But you can only get it annulled under like really extreme circumstances, and or if either party withheld something before the marriage took place that would have meant that they wouldn't have get married in the first place. Like, for example, say he had a child to somebody else but never told you, and you wouldn't have married him if you'd have known that. Do you know what I mean?
Just make something up that like you think would be really serious.
Like, what about like if like somebody thought that Keira Knightley was a better Eliza Bennett than Jennifer Ely? Like that would be a fucking deal breaker. If I knew that you thought that was a better fucking Pride and Prejudice,
can you imagine you go in with that? You were like, I didn't realise that they voted Tory, and that's just, would they be like, would they annul it for that? Would they let you, Sacre bleu.
He is, I thought his name was Alan, found out his name's really Martin. Do you know what I mean?
He is not the man I married.
And then like the priest sitting like at their, how are you two puffs sitting in here? We didn't want you to get married in the first place. Get the fuck.
Get out, you bummers.
Get out, bummer boys.
People are really obsessed with the gay sex thing, aren't they? They're like, I think the people tend to focus on that a lot.
And other podcast.
Yeah.
Did bring this up as like a challenge. Like there was a question that they made like for one of the other like, so like you know who you are.
Right.
And it was really weird because like so like the question was like, would you rather have sex with that? Would you rather have, what was it? The question was something like, would you rather get bummed?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Would you rather get bummed?
There's a question like that gets asked.
Would you rather get bummed by a big dick for a minute or a wee dick for 5 minutes? And like, do you know what was kind of really annoying about that? Is like the straight people
a big dick for 5 minutes?
Well, if you watch,
I'm only joking.
Well, if you watch the podcast, you'll find that was actually the other person's answer.
Oh, really?
I'm not you will know who. I don't know. Do you know what one it is? Do you know what one it is? No. I'm not saying it because they'll go, oh no, you can't say this. But what annoys me a wee bit about that is that whenever you call it out, like you're a wee bit obsessed. So what you're setting up gay sex as a kind of a challenge, and so therefore it's something kind of
something
bad.
To be endured.
It's something kind of, so you're setting up this joke, and then whenever somebody calls it out, you're then not allowed. You're not allowed to say that it's homophobic.
We'll see, like even that thing of like just homosexuality is like a punchline sort of thing still. Like,
there's loads and lots of young guys who have not been doing it for very long still have that, oh my god, that sounds so gay. And they're still using that as a punchline. But you're not allowed. I, as a gay man, I know what homophobia looks like. Yeah. I'm 42 years old and I know what homophobia looks like, but I'm not allowed to say that because they will go, oh no, you can't, it's not homophobic, blah, 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 blah. And you go, lads, or like I'll tell you don't tell me.
Or sometimes the punchline is like, no, you're talking about like a couple or something, and then it's like the punchline is, but
they're lesbians.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, So it's like her. And it was kind of like very like, that does, so there is like there's a weird obsession with gay sex, but then it becomes the punchline, but you're not allowed to tell people that what you're doing is kind of ultimately homophobic, and you're feeding into the homophobia that people, it's okay to go, oh, it's so gay, her. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of, so do you know what I mean? Like that's what kind of, I'm getting very head up.
I love that.
But it's just very kind of like, where it sort of feels like I say, I'm not, the person, I don't know, everybody knows, it just came up as a clip on my thing, and it really annoyed me.
But that's like, it's, see, like, you're so ingrained with that thing, especially
100%.
Like, see, going to like a boys' school, it's like anything. It only took me until like I was like 17, 18 or whatever to realize like what people are saying when they go like, that's so gay.
Yeah.
Is they're saying that's really cheesy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it's crap,
Like,
or it's rubbish, or it's crap. It's always a pejorative. It's never like it's never like that's so gay, yay! Like, it's never like a thing. Do you know what I mean? Or like it's still a punchline.
Yeah.
And people go
up on like the mid-2000s comedy films of like American Pie and all, where it's like, where that is like it's and like Family Guy and South Park and all, where it's like always the punchline is like a character who you like thought is straight or whatever, like something happens like where the rest of the audience thinks it like, oh, they're gay now, so then and the character's trying to cover that up like, oh no, I'm not. It's just this embarrassing situation, but that's very uncomfortable.
But it's also as well like because you kind of hit the nail on the head there, because a lot of these people will come at you and go, oh my god, you're triggered, you're offended. I'm not necessarily offended by that. I just think it's shite and lazy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Low-hanging fruit. Pardon the pun.
Low-hanging fruits. That's the name of my podcast.
Low-hanging fruits.
But you know, like, it's just shite and it's lazy and it's, do you know what it is? It's like if it was a GCSE, if it was your RE GCSE, you'd be getting a fucking D-, try better.
You'd be getting the D.
I wish, give it a all angles. But you know that way, but it's sort of that way where like, be... Yeah. I don't know. It's just, as I say, I just feels lazy and shit.
Outdated comedy tropes.
So
it just needs to phase out a wee bit.
It's so old. It's so outdated. It's so like, do you like you're waiting for something to be fun? Like we know, whenever you go to a comedy thing and people's in the audience, it's the same with any when you are taking in comedy, you want it to be funny. You want to be entertained. So that whenever it's
you're not entertained.
Oh, you're not entertained. Does this not please you? But yeah, so whenever it resorts to that real 15-year-old fart gay lesbian ditties, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's really lazy and it's substandard.
Yeah, I mean, and I know that like ditties and penis are kind of like
hilarious,
the bread and butter of comedy, but you need to sort of like punch up, not down. You know,
punch up, not down.
Funnily enough, we were sitting in the green room last night, and it was actually, sorry if I'm deblaterating here.
I feel like this is a necessary deblateration.
It is necessary. It is. We were sitting last night, and the conversation was like, right, so we're not allowed to say fuck or bollocks, but we're all sort of looking.
Davina, like, please do not say fuck or bugger.
Fuck or bugger. Yeah, that's what we were saying. But it was like, right, so am I okay to talk about penises? Am I okay to talk? What about crackhead? Are we allowed to say crackhead? I was like,
vulva. I'm allowed to say vulva.
Yeah, vulva. I was just sitting there going, I love my work.
What's your feelings on nipple tassel?
Is that okay?
Is that okay?
Something though I have to say? See, last night, because I couldn't swear, and I pointed this out, and I was like, it's being recorded, but sure, he's kind of. I got to a point in my set where I went, so where's that? And I nearly said it, and the whole audience went, yay!
They were what?
Clapped. They were waiting on it.
Because they were probably all sitting.
I nearly made it. I nearly did it, and we were all laughing our tits off together.
But I kind of hope that they keep that in, because that's class, because it's show. Do you know what I mean? I think that's funny. I think that's really funny.
It was, but it went, so for... God, nearly did it! And we went,
flip.
For fudge. For goodness sake, ladies and gents.
Flip? Whenever you're away, flip. Oh, flip or frig.
Flip, frig. Do you know, my granny used to call me a wee frigger, right? And I was walking down the stairs one day and she told me off, and I remember looking at her and just going, you wee frigger! And she just burst out laughing, and I thought that I was going to get I thought I was really telling her.
You're a frigger.
You're a frigger. I'm like, you wee frigger! And she just went...
I used to get slagged.
Frig? Was it a bad word in your house?
No, it was... Yeah, well, like, that was the substitute. But see, when I used to, like, be out with friends and stuff, and go like, frig's sake.
Yeah.
I'd never...
Frig's sake.
John's well good. He doesn't say fuck, he says frig.
I didn't say it. I said, like...
And I say fuck, go on, say
I
fuck,
wasn't even censoring myself, I just
That's just how you spoke.
Yeah, you just
I
spoke
just
like
assumed that, like, frig and fuck were on, like, equal, like
They were both bad.
You know what I mean?
Well, my mum would have said frig, so I knew that frig then wasn't so bad. And if my mum swore, then that was like, oh my God, we're going to get bait so bad. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? If it got to the point where she swore.
Yeah. Do you know I used to be terrified of my ma as a kid, like raising her voice, but I never actually remember my ma hitting me. Like, all my ma had to do was bite her hand. Monica would bite her hand, she'd go, see, and she would bite the finger clean off herself. And see, whenever you knew the knuckle was getting bit, you ran like fuck.
I was more afraid of her. So whenever mommy shouted, that would have been, dead on, she's annoyed. But see if she went like this here. See if I get a howl of you.
David.
Oh, David. Paul Jebb. If I get a howl of you. That's whenever my blood would have run cold. I'd have been like, oh. I remember one time I had this new, it was Fruit of the Loom. Life.
Oh, do you remember Fruit of the Loom?
It was a yellow Fruit of the Loom. What business did I have being a fucking pale Northern Irish boy from Lurgan wearing fucking yellow?
Oh,
what did I think I was? Jim brought me my luck jaundiced.
My kids' polos are Fruit of the Loom now just for school, and we were running about wearing that as if it was
that was a big
Gucci.
label. It was Fruit of the Loom. Was it Life, Liberty and Fruit of the Loom?
Oh my God.
And so I had this yellow Fruit of the Loom sweater, and I thought this was class. And my mum was doing this thing where she was moving stuff about my room, and that really annoyed the shit out of me. So I went up and I was like, what are you doing in my room? And she's all like, I'm just tidying it up. And I was
You're going to find my magazines.
You're going to find my magazines. And I was like, listen. And I said to mum, go to hell. I didn't even go fuck off. Right? And I'm like, go to hell. Do you know, like a teenager in like a 1990s, like, you know, like the OC or
Clarissa
One Tree Hill.
explains it all.
Go to hell, mum. You don't know me. And I said, go to hell. So his mum,
you're going to go to hell, you wee Fruit of the Loom.
Like, whenever I fucking break your back, you'll go to hell. That's where you'll go. She looked at me like that. She went, what did you say? And the voice like went down to like
scurry decibels.
Oh, scurry decibels. And I ran down the stairs. But as I ran down the stairs and ran round to get into the living room, my Fruit of the Loom jersey got caught on the flipping door handle and ripped in it, and I couldn't get away. As I held onto the door, she was coming down the stairs after me. It was all like, and I'm gonna get it
like an evil genius. It's like, yeah, I see you've encountered my booby trap.
Mr. Jebb.
Hoisted upon your own petard, quite frankly. Hoisted upon your own Fruit of the Loom. It's like, Isaac is on, I can't get away. And it was awful. And she laughed, and I didn't get a bait in that time, but it was a bit like, will you ever say that to me again?
And you're fucking dead. You're teddy, bro.
By the way, what's a petard?
Was it not like your trousers or it was a bit of clothing?
I thought Petard was the captain of the Starship Enterprise.
Captain Petard. Captain Petard.
My name is Captain Luke Petard.
Captain Don Luke Petard.
Don Luke Petard.
That was always check.
And somebody with a speech impediment calling somebody stupid.
It's like somebody somebody having like a sort of like a reaction to Peanuts. I got an uppy pin in my handbag.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Adolf.
Adolf who?
Adolf Paul hit me in the mouth when you let me in. Terrible.
That's not your teeth.
Mouth on you like a burnt out fuse box.
I say never trust anybody who's got more tits than teeth. That's what I always say.
Oh, it's brilliant! More tits than teeth. On the tits, do you want to hear the
B-side?
The dirty word of the week.
Oh, yes.
Naughty.
Dacrophilia.
Yes.
Dacrophilia.
Dacrophilia.
It's got something to do with shit.
No, that's
coprophilia.
Yes, that's cop. Yeah.
And what's dacrophilia? So philia is obviously something that you like. So philia is an
unusual love for. Yeah.
Philos is like philia. So like a bibliophile is a book lover. Dacrophile. What would a dacrophile be? Dacrophilia.
Think of this.
Love of dacro.
There's the 3 letters in it are, I'll give you a clue.
Cry. Well, like, so is it to do with crying? Like people who love crying during sex?
People who are turned on by people crying.
Oh no. Yeah. I know there's no word for that. Fucking sociopath.
Yes, they do a lot of them tend to be sexual sadists. So I'll give you, I actually had to look into this more.
Imagine nice people having a wank during the Notebook. Do you know what I mean?
I've loved you all along.
Oh my God, this is great.
Schindler's List.
Get into Schindler's List.